Hello. This week I'd like to go over the two sides of the adjectives worksheet that I posted for you on Blackboard. Then we go to iLrn and we review together the activities that show up as due on March 4th. These activities being your textbook activities that you use to learn. So, as you can see, I started out with a list of adjectives. Okay. There we go. And many of the adjectives you can recognize just because you speak English, or maybe because you speak Spanish. Cognates, that means sharing common Latin roots when we're talking about languages like English and French and Spanish. So you see qualité from one end, défaut from the other. So qualité are positive qualities that people have, as opposed to vices or weaknesses or defects. Actif. Now this list, ultimately, you use with the other side of the list, which gives you the patterns. Patterns allow you to work with adjectives that have a variation between the masculine and feminine. It's more than just adding an E to the masculine form. In this video, I'm not going to use the worksheet that I give you. I'm just going to go through and pick out the general variations. So we've got actif. When you have a F at the end, that's going to give you active. Il est actif. Elle est active. When you have an adjective like agréable, it ends in an E already, so you can't have another E. So the feminine is going to be agréable. Aimable as well. It ends in an E. You can't put two E's like this. You can't. Aimable, aimable. She is likable. Sounds and looks the same as he is likable. Aimable. Amusant. All you have to do is put a T at this silent E, as they call it, is added so that you actually do pronounce the consonant. And in this case, the consonant is T. Amusant, amusante. Attentif. Oh, you've seen this F. If it ends in F, attentive. Bon. If it ends in N, you're going to double the N, E. Bon. Bonne. Brave. As you can see, brave. Ends with an E in the masculine form. Brave, brave. Brillant, brillante. Charmant, charmante. Compréhensif. It's going to become compréhensive. If it ends with an X, it's going to become SE. Consciencieux, il est consciencieux, elle est consciencieuse. Same thing for courageux, courageuse. Now discret, ending in an ET, in this case, is going to follow this discrète. If it's like this, ET, then it's E accent grave, TE. Discret, discrète. Drôle doesn't change. Dynamique doesn't change. Élégant, you add petit. Élégante. Franc, you add the C. If it ends in a C, it becomes franche. Franc, franche, in terms of being forthright, frank. Gentil. It ends in an L, and you double the L and add an E to make it feminine. Gentil, gentille. Généreux. Oh, that's one of those X's that becomes généreuse. Heureux. That's happy. Heureuse, for a woman being happy. Honnête, honnête. Humble, humble. Imaginatif, imaginative. Intéressant, intéressante. Joyeux, joyeuse. Right, joyeuse. Long does its own thing. It ends in a G, it becomes like this. G-U-E. I'm going down. Ah, you see this organisé? It has a E aigu, the accent aigu, organisé. You would just add an E. You wouldn't hear the difference, but you would see it in writing for organisé. You can add an E to the E accent aigu. E. Cannot add an E to optimiste. Patient, patiente. Organisé, organisé. Poli, you just add an E. You see the difference, you don't hear it. Ouvert, open. Ouverte, riche, riche. Sensible, sensible. Sérieux, sérieuse. Spirituel. And you've got that L at the end, just like gentil. Double the L, E. Just like intellectuel. Spirituel. Spontané. You see the difference, but you don't hear it. Spontané. Sympathique doesn't change. Tolérant. Tolérante. Ah, travailleur. When it ends in heure, it's going to become euse. Travailleuse. Now, let's work our way through the defects. Antipathique doesn't change. Avare doesn't change, nor does bête. Blanc becomes, when it ends in a C, we saw this before with franc, didn't we? Franc. Blanc becomes blanche. And a famous example of blanche is blanche neige. Snow White. Neige is feminine, so you'd say blanche neige. Cruel. Ah, it ends with an L, so cru. L. Double the L. E. Désagréable, désorganisé. Don't really change, except for désorganisé gets an E. Distrait gets a T-E. Égoïste doesn't change. Ennuyeux. Dull. Ennui. Ennuyeuse. Ennuyeuse. Gros. Grosse. Impatient. Impatiente. Impoli. Impoli. Inactif. Inactive. Inattentif. Inattentive. Incompréhensif. Incompréhensive. Indifférent. Indifférente. Indiscret. It's just like discret. Indiscrète. Indiscipliné. Indiscipliné. Intolérant. Intolérante. Irresponsable. Irresponsable. Léthargique doesn't change, just like irresponsable. And malhonnête. Méchant becomes that extra E, méchante. Monotone doesn't change, but paresseux does. Paresseux. Pauvre doesn't change, nor does pessimiste. Mais peureux, I mispronounced that. Peureux becomes peureuse. Prétentieux becomes prétentieuse. Renfermé, you add in an E and it becomes renfermé with an extra E for the girl. Ridicule, ridicule. Sérieux, sérieuse. Taciturne, taciturne. Sévère, sévère. Stupide, stupide. Timide, timide. Triste, triste. Vaniteux, vaniteuse. vulgaire, vulgaire. Oh, and there's one that's not there. Frais, the word for fresh, becomes fresh. Frais, fresh. And there's probably others that I didn't put in there, but you know what? You've gotten off to a very good start. Towards the end of your homework, you're going to have nationalities. In general, nationalities oftentimes will follow that double consonant rule. Like when I think of Canadian, in French it's Canadien, and then it becomes Canadienne. When I think of Algerian, for example, Algérien, Algérienne, E, deux N, E. And then in other cases, you just add an E, and the extra E changes the whole sound of the final. Like Américain, Américaine. Oh, you know what I could add in for the EN? Haïtien. Oh, you know, I need a Haïtien, Haïtienne. I need the I tréma for Haïtien. That's the only accent of all of the accents. The I tréma, comme on dit, the I. Like this is the only one I can't make easily for some reason. So Haïtien, Haïtienne, E, deux N, E. Américain, Américaine, Marocain. Oh no, in French you need an A. Marocain, Marocaine, Anglais, Anglaise, Français, Française. Most nationalities work either like the Canadien, Algérien, Haïtien, or the SE, Japonais, Japonaise, Chinois, Chinoise, or Américain, Américaine, or German is Allemand, Allemande. You know, you can just look it up very easily. I always recommend for nationalities, you start with the nationalities you need to discuss. You need to talk about your roots. If you're from La Côte d'Ivoire, then you have to figure out how to say, if you're a guy, je suis ivoirien, and if you're a girl, je suis ivoirienne. Or if you're from Cameroon, je suis camerounais, camerounaise. And there's so many different countries. You can look up in your book in chapter 3, and if it's not there, you can look at the website for Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie. They have maps of the world in French. Now let's move on to iLrn. So we start out this week, Premières impressions, Claire Gagné. And you should watch this first chapter, which I'm asking you to do here. You get to see, even though it's a kind of silly film made for a textbook, I do enjoy watching Claire as she's walking through the campus of McGill University, and she passes by signs that are bilingual, and she attends a seminar, probably a graduate level seminar, with a professor who's teaching in the French style, where he's asking rhetorical questions and then answering the questions as he moves forward in his lecture. So I'd like you to watch that, and when you're done, I'd like you to share your impressions about Claire. If you want, you can make a recording, or if not, you can go to the book, to the different adjectives in the book, or you can use the different adjectives that I have gone over with you. Most adjectives, I think you can get a feel for them, but if you need to, you can look it up, and then you just make some comments about Claire, like, is she courageuse, maybe, charmante, is she a bit impatient, she always seems to be looking at her clock, or she certainly arrives a bit late, so maybe you'd want to find a word for that, like elle est un peu indisciplinée, well, or Elle est discrète, etc. etc. It's you who tells me what you think of Claire. Elle est gentille. Elle est... Est-ce qu'elle est heureuse? She doesn't seem like she's very heureuse. Elle n'est pas heureuse, mais elle est... Maybe some people say, non, elle n'est pas indisciplinée. Elle est polie, elle est disciplinée, elle est travailleuse, she's hardworking, elle est sympathique, un peu sérieuse, mais elle est sympathique. You know, you can stay closer to the book, or you can use the worksheet, or you can even look up adjectives as long as you give me the proper form. For Claire, I would say, for me, I would write this. I think that Claire Gagné est étudiante à McGill, à l'université de McGill. Elle est étudiante en psychologie à l'université de McGill, mais Claire est aussi réceptionniste à l'hôtel d'État. Elle est travailleuse, mais un peu distraite. And then I may just kind of sum it up. C'est une jeune femme sérieuse, mais stressée. Now, in this case, you'd probably be wondering, why does she say c'est une jeune femme sérieuse? In general, in French, when you're using être, you tend to keep it really choppy in the third person. For some reason, in the third person, il or elle is going to be like, il est étudiant, or elle est, you can talk for like religion, elle est catholique, or elle est musulmane, for professions of faith, or for professions, you know, in terms of work, or for qualities, il ou elle est canadien, ou il ou elle est étudiant, professeur, etc. You keep it simple like that. And if you're adding on different qualities, you can also say elle est gentille, but if you're piling on more qualities, like une Canadienne sérieuse, or elle est une étudiante responsable, I would switch here. I would go c'est une. Whenever I'm using une, I'll say c'est une jeune femme, or c'est une étudiante responsable, mais triste, or something like that. When I'm adding on different qualities, I switch into c'est un or c'est une. It translates into English exactly the same. In English, we just say, you know, she is a great student, or she is a student. In French, for just stylistic reasons, they say either elle est canadienne, or c'est une Canadienne sérieuse. C'est une Canadienne travailleuse. It's just for style reasons. I've just always looked at it as a fun way to vary it up. You know, that sometimes I'm using elle est étudiante, and then sometimes I'm saying more things like c'est une étudiante canadienne, and I love how it means the same thing, but I'm not repeating myself. I'm varying, offering different variations on the same idea of she is, he is. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. Always try to write not like you would think in English, but just try to write what you're learning in French. Simple, but it's meaningful to you. Okay, Barack ou Michel. So here the book is reviewing for you the different adjectives that have significant variations between the masculine and feminine patterns, and from adjective to adjective. You don't treat gentille in the same way that you treat courageux. So it prompts you to decide, okay, est gentille. Oh, that's the two consonant E, so it's madame. And I like, you know what I like about this? activity or activities like this because you're so used to thinking in terms of, well, I'll say that Michelle's nice because I don't think, President Obama's nice, or I think he's courageous but not her. You're so used to thinking in terms of your opinions about the people. This forces you to be more formal in terms of you're following the formal rules of French. It's the form that matters, not the fond, as they say, not the meaning. So, Madame est gentille, because there's two L-E. Madame est courageuse, because it's courageuse, it's not courageux. Est intellectuel, it has to be monsieur. Est talentueux, okay, you're obliged to say monsieur. Est travailleur, it can only be monsieur. Est fier, oh, I don't know if that was on our worksheet. That must have been the one that was missing. So, also, we had discret, discrète. We didn't have fier, fier. Okay, that's kind of a case that doesn't come up often, but if you want to say someone's proud, you're going to have to say fier, fier. So, est fier, well, you have to say it's Michel, even if you think that he's proud. Est ambitieuse. Est sérieux, but c'est monsieur, and they allow you some room to express your agreement or disagreement, so you may say je suis d'accord, je ne suis pas d'accord, je suis d'accord, je ne suis pas d'accord. You do whatever you want. Submit answers, voila. Okay, let me keep on going. Les frères et les sœurs. Again, we're talking about, now we're not talking about one person or one person, masculine singular or feminine singular. We're talking about two guys and two girls. And, we're talking about les frères Baldwin. But remember in French, when you have two people, and so it becomes plural, even if it's co-ed, it will be treated as a masculine plural. So it could be, instead of les frères Baldwin, it could be a famous brother and sister. For example, David and Amy Sedaris. Instead of les frères Baldwin, we would still treat them like ils, plural. Donc, les Sedaris, la sœur et le frère Sedaris, contre les sœurs Olsen. Donc, sont heureux. Ah, ce sont les frères Baldwin qui sont heureux. Sont souvent naïves. Les sœurs Olsen. Sont courageuses, eh ben, ce sont les sœurs. Sont un peu paresseux, les frères. Sont toujours fiers, les frères. Sont rarement talentueuses. Ah, ça c'est les sœurs parce que talentueuses. Sont ennuyeux, les frères. And note again, with the plural, as we saw for objects, you generally add an S. The only time that you will not add an S in is when it has that X ending. Remember the heureux, heureuse, but for the guy, when you have an X at the end, it's going to look exactly the same, whether it's Alec Baldwin, est heureux, or whether it's Stephen Baldwin, est heureux, or, well, there's another one too. There's 5 of them. Stephen Baldwin, Billy Baldwin, est heureux, Danny Baldwin, est heureux. It's all the same. And you're probably wondering, how does she know the Baldwin brothers? Because when I was like 14, I had a crush on one of them. There we go. I've just admitted that I had a crush on Stephen Baldwin when I was 14. And he was in the show Young Riders, but that was a really long time ago. Les dessins animés. Lisa Simpson. Blanche-Neige. Batgirl and Wonder Woman. Tintin et Milou. Astérix et Obélix. Jessica Rabbit. Rémi. Shrek et la princesse Fiona. Now, Tintin et Milou come from the comic strip artist, l'artiste Hergé, and he is Belge. And Tintin was the star of a movie by Steven Spielberg in 2011, I believe. If you're interested in this topic, you can put it into your scrapbook or use it in your cultural grades paper. Asterix and Obelix is also not only a theme park, but it's also a comic book series, and even the subject of films in which I think the big, these are kind of prehistoric French people, not prehistoric, but they play the parts of the Gaulois back in the days when they were invaded by Rome. This could be an interesting topic. Okay, so Lisa Simpson, and here I'm asked to follow a model souvent. So she is souvent. Oh, I have to not only use this adjectif, but okay, book, they say adjectif possible. These aren't adjectives. Parfois and quelquefois, rarement, souvent, trop et toujours are adverbs that we use to further enhance the adjective. Donc, Lisa, parfois means sometimes. Quelquefois also means sometimes. You see the word fois in it? That's time. Like when you're multiplying, you say deux fois deux font quatre. So here it's parfois, which is equivalent to quelquefois. Both kind of give the sense of sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. Souvent is often. Rarement is rarely. Toujours is always. And then trop is like too much. So even if among these adjectives you don't find any adjective that characterizes the characters, you can always use rarement. For example, Lisa Simpson est rarement ennuyeuse, ou elle est toujours intellectuelle, or maybe elle est trop intellectuelle. Play with it and have fun. Blanche Neige est trop naïve. Oh, so I have to go here for my tréma. Est trop naïve, n'est-ce pas? Elle est trop gentille. Elle est trop gentille. Oh non, c'est pas qu'elle est trop gentille. Elle est gentille, mais la sorcière, la marâtre, her, belle-mère or mother-in-law, est trop méchante. Batgirl et Wonder Woman sont courageuses. Tintin et Milou sont rarement paresseux. Astérix et Obélix sont quelquefois fiers. Jessica Rabbit est toujours ambitieuse. Rémi est souvent paresseux. Shrek et la princesse sont toujours amusants. And I use the amusant with an S because it's a boy and a girl. Voilà. And, in the case like, here I get 8 out of 8, 100%. But sometimes when you submit these, you don't get anything until I review your work. Les premières impressions, Abia. Now, Abia is the friend of Claire. So, I want you to watch the next chapter. And I know it's not great filmmaking. I know. But it's something to work with, and I'm sure that you will find that Abia est travailleuse et sérieuse. Surtout, c'est une amie très dévouée et sympathique. Or something like that. You do what you want. These adjectives are for you to use. Now that you've learned how to express yourself correctly, with the adjectives using il or elle, but also je or tu or il ou elle, nous, vous, il pluriel ou elle pluriel, with the conjugation of être, the adjective is always going to be masculine or feminine, singular or plural, because je can be masculine or feminine, tu as well, although je and tu are singular. Il and elle also are singular. But nous can be feminine plural, can be masculine plural. Vous, depending on whether it's a formal vous or a plural vous, as in y'all, can be masculine or feminine plural, and il, masculine plural, elle, feminine plural. And you'll also see in these upcoming adjective lectures that words can also have an adjective. So for example, to go back to my worksheet, a lot of these qualities have to do with people, but as you were seeing in some of your activities, you can talk about classes, courses, schools, cafeterias, posters, you know. C'est une affiche. C'est une affiche intéressante. I couldn't find a better example. C'est une affiche intéressante. C'est un film ridicule. You know, adjectives also agree in gender and number with nouns. Last but not least, and you have these tutorials to do to continue your training. Je suis de nationalité américaine. Je suis d'origine culturelle suédoise. Enfin, de tout. Je suis d'origine culturelle, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is. Notice that in both cases, je suis de nationalité américaine, or je suis de nationalité, or je suis d'origine culturelle suédoise. Or if I say je suis de nationalité algérienne, je suis d'origine culturelle berbère, ou je suis de nationalité belge, je suis d'origine culturelle rwandaise. In both cases, nationalité and culture, d'origine culturelle, origine is feminine, nationalité is feminine. So if you're a guy, and you know who I'm thinking of when I'm doing this, Belge et Rwandaise, I'm thinking of the pretty well-known performer Stromae. Even in America, people love Stromae. Well, Stromae, he's a guy, so if he was speaking just in terms of himself, he'd say, je suis, I'll write it for you here. He would say, je m'appelle Stromae, and he could say, je suis belge, mais je suis aussi, du côté paternel, je suis Rwandais. In fact, his father was from Rwanda, and his father actually was killed in the genocide in Rwanda. Donc, he would say, je suis belge. But if he's saying, de nationalité, I am of Belgian nationalité, Belge, although this nationality is one of those irregulars that doesn't change, je suis de nationalité belge, je suis d'origine culturelle rwandaise. So someone else may say, I'm thinking of my friends. Marine Chu, elle est de nationalité américaine, mais elle est cubaine, d'origine culturelle cubaine. And, you know, I mean, I think she's Cuban too. Donc, elle peut dire aussi, je suis de nationalité cubaine. Well, she's from Miami, so that's like its own nationality. Elle est de nationalité cubaine, and elle est d'origine culturelle basque. But I can also say ici cubaine, elle est de nationalité américaine, elle est née à Miami. And then I'm thinking of someone else I know. Rahim, il est de nationalité, peut-être il est égyptienne et américaine, mais il est d'origine culturelle sudanaise. That doesn't sound right. Sudanaise. No, I was trying to correct me with the English. Sudanese. Sudanaise. Il est de Soudan. Is it not Sudanaise? Ah oui, c'est ça, je crois. Sudanaise. Il est du Sudan. Anyway, I just wanted to get you going during this learning module 4 on adjectives. And adjectives are also nationalities. Don't worry if you don't master it right away. The reason why I'm giving you all of the different lessons on adjectives in one sitting, that means I'm pulling from préliminaire and chapter 1 and chapter 3, is I'd like to give you time to work it through over the course of the next weeks. Alors, je crois que ça c'est tout pour le moment. J'espère que vous allez remplir cette partie. Oh non, ça c'est les textbook activities, donc c'est pas nécessaire. Mais j'aime beaucoup que les gens, que vous fassiez un effort quand même. Mais you do as you wish. Ok, c'est tout pour le moment. Je vous souhaite bon courage.